The wind sliced down the frozen avenue like broken glass. A young woman sat trembling on a bench outside a dark pharmacy, her breath turning to mist no one noticed. Then a single dad with grocery bags stopped mid-step. His name was Jack Sullivan, and when he saw her shaking, he gave her his jacket. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Let's begin. The wind knifed through the city that night, blowing snow into tight silver spirals around the streetlights. Jack Sullivan, 34, walked home from the late-shift grocery store, plastic bags cutting red lines into his fingers. He'd promised his 8-year-old daughter, Lucy, pancakes in the morning, extra syrup if he could still feel his hands. Passing the darkened pharmacy, he caught a movement, a figure hunched on the bench, knees drawn to her chest. The rest of the world walked by without looking. Jack stopped. She couldn't have been older than her late 20s. Her coat was too thin, her hair soaked to her shoulders, her eyes glassy from the cold. "You all right, ma'am?" he asked. She flinched. "I'm fine." Her voice cracked on the word. He shrugged off his jacket and draped it over her. "Then let me worry for both of us." When she finally whispered her name, Madeline Pierce, it trembled out like a secret. She'd been walking for hours with nowhere left to go. Jack motioned toward the all-night cafe across the street. "Come on. Best hot chocolate in town. I'll even let you steal the whipped cream." She hesitated, pride warring with exhaustion, then followed. Inside, the windows fogged, the smell of coffee and cinnamon wrapped around them. For the first time that night, warmth found her face, and a stranger's kindness began to thaw what the winter had tried to freeze. Steam curled from the mugs as Jack slid one toward her. "Careful, it's molten," he warned with a grin. Madeline cupped it anyway, as if she needed to feel something solid and warm. Her fingers trembled. They sat in the soft hum of the cafe, a radio murmuring Christmas classics, the barista wiping counters like the night would never end. "So," Jack said gently, "how does someone like you end up freezing outside a pharmacy?" Madeline stared into the cocoa, lashes glistening. "My father's company, Pierce Holdings, it was stolen from him. When he fell ill, I tried to fight back, but they blamed me for everything. My fiancé bailed. My friends disappeared. Now I'm no one." Jack didn't look shocked. He'd seen life strip proud people down to nothing before. "You're someone," he said simply. "Right now, you're the woman keeping my jacket warm." That earned him the faintest smile. She glanced at the clock. "It's late. You should get home." "Lucy's probably still up drawing superheroes," he said. "But she can wait a few minutes for her old man. You, on the other hand, need a roof tonight." Her head jerked up. "I can't ask that of you." "You didn't," Jack replied. "I offered. And that was that." Outside, snow began to fall harder, swirling under the streetlights like tiny ghosts. As they stepped out into the cold again, she realized he walked slightly ahead, not to lead her, but to block the wind. By the time they reached his modest apartment, she wasn't sure what scared her more, the storm behind them, or the quiet safety she felt beside him. The front door creaked open, letting out a wave of warmth scented faintly with vanilla and motor oil. Madeline stepped inside, blinking at the cozy clutter, a shoe rack overflowing with little sneakers, a half-built Lego castle on the rug, and drawings taped proudly to the fridge. "Lucy's artwork," Jack said, setting down the groceries. "She's 8. Thinks she's part superhero, part architect." Madeline smiled faintly. "She has good taste in color." A small voice answered from the hallway. "Daddy." A sleepy girl in striped pajamas peeked out, clutching a stuffed bunny. "Who's that?" "This is Miss Madeline," Jack said. "She's staying tonight because the snow's mean." Lucy blinked up at the stranger, then patted forward and offered her bunny. "He helps with bad dreams." Madeline froze, heart twisting. "That's very kind of you, sweetheart." Within minutes, Lucy was sitting at the kitchen table coloring while Jack brewed tea. "She doesn't know much about the world yet," he said quietly, "but she's already better at kindness than most adults I know." Madeline watched the father and daughter laugh over spilled sugar and mismatched mugs, something inside her cracking open. She had grown up in houses filled with chandeliers, but never this kind of light. When Lucy finally drifted to sleep on the couch, Jack draped a blanket over her and turned back to Madeline. "You can take my room. It's small but warm." She hesitated. "Why are you doing this?" He met her eyes steadily. "Because someone once helped me when I thought I didn't deserve it. Figured I'd return the favor." For the first time in years, Madeline didn't argue. She simply whispered, "Thank you," and let herself believe that kindness might still exist. The house had gone quiet except for the soft ticking of the kitchen clock. Jack poured 2 mugs of coffee, the steam winding upward like the ghosts of sleepless thoughts. Madeline stood by the window, his flannel shirt hanging loosely over her borrowed sweatpants, her hair still damp from the shower. "You sure you want caffeine at midnight?" he asked. She gave a faint smile. "I haven't slept well in months. Coffee can't make it worse." They sat at the small kitchen table across from each other, the light golden and kind. Jack told her about Lucy, how his wife had left when their daughter was 5, how a kind neighbor had helped him start again. "Sometimes," he said, staring at the mug, "you think your story's over. Then someone reminds you you're just in the middle of a hard chapter." Madeline listened, her eyes softening. "You talk about pain like it's something you've made peace with." He shrugged. "You don't fight the storm. You walk through it, one block at a time." Silence stretched between them, comfortable and human. Then she said quietly, "My father used to say success meant never needing anyone. I thought he was right. Now, I'm not sure anymore." Jack looked at her, really looked. Maybe real success is being someone others can rely on, even strangers. She held his gaze, something unspoken flickering there, trust, maybe even hope. For a long while, neither of them moved. Outside, the wind howled, but inside, warmth gathered like a promise. When she finally rose to leave for the guest room, she paused in the doorway. "Jack," she whispered, "thank you for not asking for anything in return." He smiled softly. "You already gave something. Proof that kindness still matters." Sunlight spilled through the blinds, painting stripes across the living room floor. The smell of pancakes filled the air, and Lucy's laughter carried from the kitchen. Madeline blinked awake on the couch, wrapped in a blanket that smelled faintly of soap and home. For the first time in months, she'd slept through the night. "Morning," Jack said, flipping another pancake. "Lucy insisted we make breakfast for our guest." Lucy waved from a chair much too tall for her. "I made the faces. See, this one's smiling." Madeline chuckled softly. "That's the happiest pancake I've ever seen." They ate together, 3 mismatched plates, a shared bottle of syrup, the kind of ordinary joy she'd once thought money could buy. For a moment, it felt like she belonged to something small but real. Then her phone buzzed on the table. The cracked screen lit up with headlines. "Pierce Holdings under federal investigation." Her father's name. Her own photo, labeled fugitive executive. Madeline's face drained of color. "No," she whispered. Jack frowned. "What is it?" She turned the screen toward him. "They think I'm part of it. They think I ran." Lucy looked up, confused. "Miss Madeline?" Madeline forced a shaky smile. "It's okay, sweetheart." But her voice trembled. Jack's tone was steady, the same voice that calmed his daughter after nightmares. "Then you don't hide," he said. "You prove them wrong." Her eyes filled. "You don't understand. These people have power, lawyers, the media." "Then they've never met you," he interrupted gently. "And they sure haven't met me." The words were simple, but they landed like anchors. For the first time since everything fell apart, Madeline felt the faint, impossible tug of courage returning. Madeline sat at the kitchen table, the phone trembling in her hands. News anchors' voices spilled from the tiny speaker, phrases like corporate scandal, embezzlement, missing heiress. It felt like someone else's nightmare wearing her face. Jack switched the phone off and slid it aside. "You don't need to listen to them. You need a plan." She blinked up at him, still dazed. "A plan?" He nodded. "You said your father trusted you with the company once. That means you've got the truth. So let's use it." Her brows knitted. "You don't even know me. Why are you helping?" He smiled faintly. "Because you're not guilty. I can tell. And Lucy's got this habit of bringing home strays. Guess I'm learning from her." Despite the panic churning inside her, Madeline laughed, a quiet, broken sound that still managed to feel alive. "You really think I can clear my name?" Jack leaned forward. "I think you've been scared too long. It's time to remind them who they underestimated." She exhaled shakily, running a hand through her tangled hair. "There's one person I could call, a journalist friend. She once covered the company's charity work. She'd believe me." "Then start there," Jack said. "Use your voice before they use it for you." Madeline hesitated only a moment longer, then dialed. When the familiar voice answered, her tone steadied. "Nora, it's me. I have evidence about Pierce Holdings, and I'm ready to talk. As she hung up, Jack slid a fresh cup of coffee toward her. See? Not so powerless after all. Her fingers brushed his as she took it. Jack, thank you. He shrugged. Don't thank me yet. The hard part's still coming. Outside, sirens echoed somewhere far off, swallowed by the morning wind. Inside, resolve settled like armor. By noon, the small apartment felt like a newsroom. Madeline's nerves pulsed with each ring of her phone. Nora Blake, sharp, relentless, and trusted, arrived wrapped in a wool coat and curiosity. So, Nora said, flipping open her recorder, the missing heiress finally speaks. Madeline swallowed hard. Not missing, just misplaced by circumstance. Jack stayed quiet, leaning against the counter, his mechanic's jacket still dusted with snow. He wasn't part of this world of microphones and headlines, but his steady presence kept Madeline's shaking hands from giving her away. She pulled out a flash drive from her purse. These are board emails. They show it wasn't me. The CFO and his partners shifted the accounts months before the takeover. Nora's brows lifted. You kept proof? My father always said, trust your memory, but back it up with a file. Nora smiled faintly. This could clear you, Maddie. But going public means open season. They'll dig into everything. Your past, your father, even him. She nodded toward Jack. Jack shrugged. I've got nothing to hide. Except maybe how bad I am at pancakes. The tension cracked. Madeline laughed through her tears. He's the only person who hasn't asked me for anything, she said softly. Maybe that's why I trust him. Nora pressed stop on the recorder. Then let's do this right. I'll publish the evidence tonight. Madeline exhaled, half terrified, half free. When Nora left, the silence settled thick again. Jack poured her more coffee. You did it, he said. She looked up, eyes glassy. I'm terrified. He smiled gently. Good. Courage doesn't mean calm. It just means you showed up anyway. Outside, gray clouds gathered, but the air inside felt lighter, like the storm might finally be breaking. The article went live before dawn. By breakfast, Madeline's name was everywhere, trending, dissected, doubted. The truth was out, but so was the noise. Jack woke to the sound of Lucy giggling at the kitchen table, cutting paper hearts from the morning newspaper. He smiled, until he saw the headline sprawled across the front page. Pierce heiress strikes back, hero or hypocrite. Madeline sat nearby, pale but upright, staring at the screen of her phone as messages flooded in, some supportive, most cruel. They're calling me a liar, Jack, she whispered, saying I planted the evidence. He took the phone gently from her hands. Then stopped reading it. People talk loud when they're scared of being wrong. She shook her head. You don't understand. These men run everything. I've seen what they do to people who expose them. Jack crouched in front of her, meeting her eyes. Then you've already done the bravest thing you could, telling the truth anyway. A knock at the door made them both jump. Jack tensed, instinctively moving between her and the entryway. But when he opened it, there was only Nora, clutching a folded newspaper and a grim smile. They're scrambling, she said. Legal's calling emergency meetings. You hit a nerve. Madeline's hands shook. They'll destroy me. Not if we stay ahead of them, Nora said. Your story's gaining traction. The public's starting to believe you. Jack poured coffee for all three, his voice steady. Let them talk. The truth doesn't need defending. It just needs time. Madeline watched him, a small spark of safety flickering through the chaos. For the first time in weeks, she wasn't running. Outside, sleet battered the windows. But inside, three people sat shoulder to shoulder, fighting a storm with nothing but honesty and hope. By nightfall, the city seemed to hold its breath. Snow fell again, thick and heavy, muffling the usual noise of traffic and sirens. Madeline stood at the window, the glow from Jack's small TV flickering against her face. On the screen, a news anchor read aloud the words she'd written hours earlier with trembling hands, her public statement. I was not running. I was surviving. And I will not let corruption silence me. Jack watched her, pride quietly swelling beneath his calm. You just punched a giant in the face, he said. And you didn't even raise your voice. Madeline smiled weakly. Giants punch back. The doorbell rang. Jack froze, exchanged a look with her, and opened it cautiously. A man in a wool coat stood there, breath clouding in the cold. Robert Pierce, Madeline's father's former partner, the man behind the betrayal. His expression was tight, cornered. "Madeline," he said smoothly, "you shouldn't have done this." Jack stepped forward, his frame blocking the doorway. "You shouldn't be here." Pierce sneered. "And who are you exactly?" "Someone who doesn't scare easily." The older man's confidence cracked. "You're making a mistake," he hissed. "You'll ruin your father's legacy." Madeline's voice, though soft, cut through the tension. "You ruined it the moment you used it for greed." Pierce's jaw tightened, but the sound of distant sirens pulled his attention. Nora's voice came from behind him. She'd been recording everything from her phone. "You just confessed on tape, Mr. Pierce." For a moment, he stood there, pale as the falling snow, then turned and disappeared into the dark street. Madeline's breath shook as the weight of months lifted. Jack closed the door, locking it firmly. "It's over," he said quietly. She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "It's finally over." He smiled. "No, it's finally beginning." 2 weeks later, winter sunlight spilled through Jack's kitchen windows like forgiveness itself. The storm had passed, both outside and in their lives. Madeline sat at the same table where she'd first cried over her cocoa, now reading headlines that finally told the truth. Pierce whistleblower cleared. Corrupt executives charged. She looked up at Jack, who was helping Lucy frost a lopsided cake. "You were right," she said softly. "The truth just needed time." He smiled, smudged a bit of frosting on his cheek. "Told you. Honesty's slower than lies, but it lasts longer." Lucy climbed onto her chair, proud of the masterpiece she and her dad had made. "This one's for Miss Madeline," she declared. "Because she's brave." Madeline's throat tightened. She reached across the table and squeezed Jack's hand. "No, sweetheart. Your dad's the brave one. He helped me when no one else did." Jack shook his head. "We just reminded each other what people are supposed to do. Help when it's cold out there." They laughed softly. Outside, the city glittered beneath fresh snow, but the little home on Oak Street felt like spring. As the evening settled in, Nora stopped by with a camera crew. "The public wants a follow-up," she said. "A story about second chances." Jack hesitated. "I'm no hero." Nora smiled. "That's exactly why they'll listen." Later, when the lights dimmed and Lucy dozed on the couch, Madeline looked at Jack. "What happens now?" He met her gaze, gentle but sure. "Whatever we choose. You've got your name back. I've got pancakes to flip. Maybe we start there." She laughed, leaning her head on his shoulder. "Sounds perfect." Outside, snowflakes drifted past the window like blessings. Inside, 3 people shared dinner. Not strangers anymore, but a family stitched together by one simple truth. Kindness isn't loud. It's steady, honest, and strong enough to build a new beginning. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more stories that stay with you.